I just saw like a lot of things, and this is what I'm going to talk about today is, politicians keep telling us things, and those things don't always turn out to be um, what they're talking about. So, you know, I thought I coined out the old term I've been using a lot, the left right orthodoxy, when the left and the right do this, don't fix anything, blame each other, and things just getting worse and worse and worse. Um, so yeah, I've been at this now for a while. And I'm seeing repeated patterns now. Like, if you've been reading or following me for any time now, I'm a former MP sergeant, was in the drug war pretty heavily. Um, and I had to tell people on my old site and in a couple of essays and videos that the drug war was, if you actually read the history, and I mean, start at Henry Anslinger, the original prohibitions, go all the way through to the Concerned Citizens Councils and Nixon and Reagan and stuff, you quickly learn that the drug war almost has nothing to do with drugs. Okay, what the drug war is a system of control to punish certain people for personal habits and allowing other people to go live their lives despite how much drugs they have on board in an average day. And you see that today with Prince Ketamine, all messed up, staring at the ceiling, nodding his head like he's Stevie Wonder in a White House meeting. Okay, nobody cares how much drugs that guy's on. But if you're poor, then suddenly the government has a lot of concern about what you put in your body. Okay. Of course, they use the old tried and true protect the children. What a farce that is. Um, so the war on drugs was, how do we punish black people because we can't own them anymore? Oh, we can come up with a whole system that incarcerates a whole generation of people based on personal decisions, not a crime that actually occurred. Okay. So, you know, the drug war wasn't what they said it was. Deploying police tanks into the streets of America. Um, a lot of the guys and gals I worked with from back in my day, none of us like that shit. The only reason you bring tanks into America is to kill Americans. Okay. Was the tanks about 9/11 or officer safety? No. And the local use here proved beyond a reasonable doubt what the police tanks were really for. They were for repression. The very first thing in this county that they deployed police tanks to, as soon as they got them, because first it was a rescue vehicle, then it was an ambulance. Next thing you know, there's three of them at a college protest because a couple of college students were chanting in a drum circle. Wow. Wow. I've been to protests and had to police them back in my day, up to 4,000 or 5,000 people. No police tank. Okay. You get a couple of dozen kids near Berkeley or Oakland, and all of a sudden it's a war zone that you cannot have enough tanks, SWAT officers, carbines, helicopters, and drones. In fact, we had so many drones and helicopters on top and overhead of the police tanks, they almost crashed into each other. There was a big report about how they had to stop being fucking morons before they down a police helicopter onto a crowd of civilians. Okay. So the drug war wasn't what they said it was. The police tanks weren't for the reason they said it was. Now this immigration war that they're not just demanding, they're implementing at light speed. That has very little to do with immigration. Almost nothing. Okay. Well, how do I know this? Well, first, let me start with a conservative group. They're somewhere between old Ike Republicans and Reaganites, the old Cato Institute. CATO Institute. If you want to look them up on Google. What you should be looking up, and I recommended this already dozens of times, is you should be reading the chief immigration lawyer at Cato's report about the status of immigration in this country. There is no legal immigration anymore. Okay. So few people get into the door now. Conservative Cato is calling it a closed racket system. So they have an excuse to freak out about illegal immigration. So I started reading this morning the news and trying to go through a bunch of different sources and different feeds people were putting up on Blue Sky and Substack, and trying to get my layout, the topology of opinion, what people were seeing out there live. And one article that somebody reposted really struck me. Not only in this concentration camp they're building in the Everglades, the Everglade Auschwitz. Um, Not only are they building thing in the Everglades and making stupid statements about this, how they're going to have no doctors, no nurses, you're on your own. If you get eaten by an alligator, it's your fault. That's cruel and unusual punishment. Eighth Amendment stuff. You can't do that. But they're gleeful that they have the Supreme Court in their back pocket, and they have a political system as a judicial system now, so they can basically do anything they want, torture anybody they want. It's only a matter of time before Trump or Hegseth orders somebody to be waterboarded. Okay. Uh, One of these raids in the city is going to go wrong, and the Proud Boys with badges and ice are just going to open fire into a crowd of people, and it's going to be a massacre far worse than Kent State. Um, the 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 immigration thing down in the Everglades, this is bad because in one of my essays studying the death penalty, actually, what my essay was about was gathering information to understand for yourself and change your mind for yourself. I used to be 100% pro death penalty. I am zero in support of death penalty now that I have the facts at hand. Now that I have the data. One of the things in the data about the death penalty was how freaking expensive it is. Okay. For the same cost, all said and done, to get one person in the electric chair, okay, you could have housed 10 prisoners for 260 years. Okay. So it's not cost efficient to seek the death penalty. It's much cheaper just to stick them in a hole, say goodbye, and, let them every once in a while, Zoom their lawyer and their mother. Okay. So, so the average incarceration rate, it varies, because of cost differentials throughout the country. But, the average rate across the country for a medium to max is about $66,000 a year. If you put them in a private prison, like Core and these other scumbags who are literally profiting off the canard that we have all-time high crime and we need private prisons to deal with all this criminality, that's a lie. It's a bold-faced lie. Last crime rate we had was 1992. Okay. And it's been a while since 1992. So you have all these private prison systems. You have all the politicians who voted for the private prisons, all invested in the private prison systems. That's the game. It's an endless cycle of insider trading. Okay. We know your stock is going to go up because we know when you're getting the contract. The public does not. Okay. Same way Stephen Miller was reported a couple of weeks ago to make hundreds of thousands of dollars in a morning by selling his Panatar stock. Why? Because Dear Leader porn star Humper made an announcement about a contract that benefited that company and its shareholders. Okay. So we have this private prison thing. So we take our public cost of $66,000 a year. Okay, for incarceration. And by the way, $66,000 a year, that covers actual rehabilitation, education, medical, psychiatric counseling, da 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 da. Because if you don't want to rehab anybody, what prison turns into is graduate school for assholes. Okay, and that's why I'm now so against the drug war, even though I fought it for so many years, because all we did was create a generation of assholes and put them through graduate school and prison. We just made worse people. We criminalized behavior, not an actual criminal offense. We sent them to prison and they come out worse than they went in. Okay. So you take these private prisons, your cost goes from $66,000 to almost $130,000, just over double. Okay. So that should be a big clue. Okay. That these prisons don't operate efficiently, and they don't. There's so many grand jury reports and lawsuits and everything. They're haphazardly run. They're understaffed. The doctors don't give a shit. The even though we have a horrible problem with in custody deaths in public facilities, especially here in the local police departments and sheriff's departments, but really the sheriff's departments, um, the private prison system's even worse. when it comes to in custody deaths. They don't care. If you die, that's your problem. If they caused your death, that's also your problem. Okay. So it's administratively, not the judge sentencing to death. We're just going to abuse you until you die. And we're going to double the cost to the taxpayer for the benefit. Okay. So now when it comes to the Everglades, there's two different articles I found this morning that put the cost somewhere in the mid $400,000 per year per inmate. Okay. I'm thinking like, okay, this must be for who they're going to claim that the countries won't take back. No, no. they allowed a Canadian citizen to die in custody just a couple of weeks ago. And I think that's going to come down to a lawsuit, and it's going to show that ICE and the federal prison or the private contracted prison were negligent and abusive, and because the record's there, and it's a good chance that's what's going to happen. How much does it cost to deport somebody to Canada? Wait for the next plane and put them on American Airlines? What are we talking about? $900? They want to keep people in prison long term. And every report indicated to me this morning, and I'm talking about Barron's, Reuters, AP, local newspapers where they're building these facilities or recontracting these facilities. This isn't a short-term thing. This isn't about getting a set of people they know who are bad that need to go. And you'll never get an argument from me if this guy's been convicted of something heinous and he ain't supposed to be here. Out the country, go back home. Okay, but they're not throwing him back out into the country. They're not throwing him out of our country back into their own country. Okay, they're throwing them to prison camps, which I'm really sure have a nefarious corruption cycle going on. And I wouldn't doubt there's payments, especially in El Salvador. Like every time we drop off prisoners in El Salvador, somebody buys a huge chunk of $ Trump and $ millennia meme coin. Okay. People are profiting off of these deportations. When I mean people making the decisions are profiting from it directly. It's their own quid pro quo. Okay. It was a system designed from the very start so they get paid. So we're selling off human beings. We're not returning them home. We're letting Canadian citizens that would be maximum a couple of $1,000s to get them out of the country. And they're turning around and we're signing contracts, not just in the Everglades, but in Arizona and many other places who are already super corrupt with their private prisons. They're signing long-term contracts with the federal government. Okay. So is this about quickly deporting the criminals and making America safe again? No, no. Not if you're going to build camps and prisons and reuse other prisons and store those people long term at the highest cost possible. Okay, you're talking a minimum of a quadruple the cost to taxpayers to detain these immigrants over murderers, rapists, kidnappers, people who have been criminally convicted in a court of law, and an Article 3 judge said you're guilty. By the way, that's the only time you're guilty. You're actually the only time you're an actual criminal in this country is when an Article 3 judge says so. Stephen Miller cannot declare you. Tom Holland cannot declare you. Kristi Noem, the hypocrite cosplaying weirdo. Okay? And I told you before on my notes, there's nothing worse in this society than a fake cop. Kristi Noem's a fake cop. Okay? They have no legal authority, no constitutional authority whatsoever to declare somebody a criminal. Only an Article 3 judge can do that. Okay. So we keep the Article 3 prisoners at $66,000 an hour. We keep people who overstayed their visas and committed a civil offense. We're going to spend upwards to $466,800 a year, and it's all going to go to a private prison corporation, which the officials who signed and negotiated and demanded the contract all are invested in. Okay. Is the immigration war that they're demanding about immigration. No. Just like the drug war was not about drugs. The immigration is about war is about one thing. It's about Stephen Miller and other Nazis and their paranoia. Okay? We're talking about mentally deficient, if not mentally ill paranoia. Okay. Because these guys, my entire adult life, I saw this with like the real whack job white gang members, the Aryan Nation from the prison gang stuff. These guys lived and breathed replacement theory. Okay. If you guys don't know what replacement theory is in the white power, theocratic nationalist, Christian nationalist circles, it's the canard that is constantly used because somewhere they can't do math. If you're a theocratic nationalist, you don't understand we're quite a small country compared to the largest countries on earth, like India and China. And guess what? They're not white there. Okay, so they're convinced that the couple 100 million white people that live in America are the majority of planet Earth. Absolutely convinced of it. Okay. They actually believe that the Lyndon Baines Johnson social assistance and civil rights programs were literally allowing black women to get pregnant constantly and allow them to breed more babies than white women. Okay. Now, when you get to, you're starting to see like, whoa, 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 I'm seeing knots being formed here. I'm seeing loopbacks. You should be. Okay. The replacement theory also has a big deal on why women's health care is being canceled. They hate things that are being canceled, but we're going to cancel women's health care, even when it's not about abortion. Remember the Supreme Court case just a few days ago? It doesn't even have to be about what they banned. We can stop providing money to anything we don't like because we think we're being replaced. What I mean, traditionally, religious families have been quite large. I know the people in my circle throughout my life. I thought I had a big family. My wife and I had 3 kids. They're all grown up. They all have the master's degrees. They're all, doing adult things. Um, but I thought, well, we had a large family at 3. But traditionally, a large family was more like 5 to 8. And there is a correlation today. The more religiosity in your life, the more chances you're going to have one of those outlier large families. Um, so they've taken this, um, build little Christians, raise the next generation in the religious cult, and live long and prosper, I guess. So when the when the preachers started talking about this, they immediately tried to cover it up and say, "Oh no, we're not being racist. We're just saying way it is." Like, no, you're being pretty racist. You're being pretty racist. You literally think you're being outbred. And the thing is, you are. Okay. We are not a large part of the planet Earth's population in America. Okay. There are billions of Chinese. There's only 300 million. And that's, I think, a lot of issues. Order of magnitude mathematics is hard. Okay. I'm a pretty smart guy. Okay. I do computers and data engineering and data science for a living. I've done large, billion scale studies. I work with very advanced computer tools, read a lot, you know, self-educated as much as I can. So, I do pretty well on the IQ scale. Um, the weird thing is, I don't know, where was I going with that? The weird thing with we'll go back to the I hate when I lose my train of thought, but um, when the preachers started talking about it, they really tried to cover it up and dress it up like, oh no, we just have to build the America we always wanted. We are the good people. Well, by the good people meaning A specific set of white people who know their role either as church leader or slave, you know, give us your money, tithing people versus the people who collect the money. Okay, they hate taxes in the religious circles. They love the religious tax because the tithing is a religious tax. That's exactly what it is. Um, so they really try to dress it up and say, "Oh no, we're not doing that old Ku Klux Klan thing." Well, fast forward to today, they're doing the Ku Klux Klan thing on steroids. Like I saw a MAGA on Right Wing Watch. I saw a MAGA preacher basically come out and say the thing they've been denying now for 25 years. Public officials should always be men, always be white men, always be white Christian men. Everybody else should be banned from office, public office, and the corporate suite. Said it aloud, proud as shit. He said it. Okay. Now, he's a white religious guy. Okay. Who's got his own church. People give him a tax. He makes money off of them. Okay. In my mind, that's pure exploitation. Okay. You're not giving any of these people anything real. You're feeding their brain with poison. You're taking the teachings of Jesus. I'm an atheist, but I've read the Bible. I've read parts of the Quran. I've read good parts of the Torah. That's how I know usury is in all three books. Student loans, student usury, that's against all the holy books. But what is our biggest practice in America? I wrote a whole essay about this. Go look at my essay list. Usury. It's the thing we love in America. If you can make a debt slave, make two. That's the American rule. Okay. So going back to the preachers, yeah, they used to try to dress it up and say, "Oh no, we're not doing the old school thing. We're not being mean or racist." Da 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 da. And then it comes out, yeah, that's exactly what you want. You want to literally ban. And this is the white nationalist dude this morning. I watched some video. He literally said, "Ban the Jews." Okay, so they're not hiding it anymore. There's nothing. There's no thing to decode here. You don't need the super decoding ring out of the Cracker Jack box. Okay, they're telling you what this is about. Immigration is about keeping America white. And the funny thing, being Irish, they hate the Irish. They hated the Irish in the lax build up in the 1920s with the Klan. Okay, Klan showed up in Notre Dame, tried to start a fight with the Irish. The Irish beat their ass sideways. It's funny how they demand people be white in this nation, but the whitest people the Irish, they hate our guts. Oh, they also hate the Italians, the Turks, and the Greeks. Okay, go read a book about exactly 100 years ago. That you were only white if you came from a couple of tribes in Europe and you were Christian and you were a landowner. That's what made you white. Okay. I'm so white, I make other white people nervous. Okay. And I know because I don't go along with the program with dickheads and not especially Nazis. I know they really hate me. Okay. So yeah, you all have to be white. No, I have to be a white slave under your control. I have to believe in nonsense that there's a sky daddy sitting above me with his magical powers running my life, making all the decisions. But anytime something bad goes wrong, like I was saying yesterday, Jesus works in mysterious ways. Huh. So he's not so benevolent after all. When that baby died last week of cancer, was that a benevolent God that killed it? Just asking for a non religious friend. Um, so yeah, the preachers are now on board. Not that there's a couple that are speaking out and being good humanists and being religious at the same time. Um, but the lion's share of the mouthpieces of the theocratic politicized wing of American society, they're not hiding it for a second anymore. White male Christians, no Jews, no blacks, no Mexicans. We are a white purist state, and we want that declared as law. Shirley Chisholm, the black gal that made the first representative as a black gal, that happened in my lifetime. Okay, they want to take that away, and not only do they want to take away non-white Christians from running from public office, I am absolutely convinced they want to take the laws back to the 1960s. Because one thing that really bugs a very close friend of mine, a gal we played hockey together, ice hockey. Um, she goes, one of her biggest fears today is having to go through what her mom did, because her mom grew up in the era, even though she had a rich executive husband. I mean, my friend's dad, he was like a madman, big ad guy, you know, wealthy family in the Bay Area, that kind of thing. Okay. She's like, the biggest fear I have, they're going to revert the laws and I'm not allowed to have a bank account, a mortgage, or a credit card. And I'm like, yeah, I could see that happening. Again, like I said yesterday, if you'd asked me 10, 15 years ago, would I have said, oh, I could see that happen? No, I would say, no one's going to go for that. That's really jumping the shark. Today, I'm like, yeah, could totally happen. Could totally happen. Okay. And if Trump thinks he has the backing of the Supreme Court, he'll do it in an executive order. It won't even go through Congress. I think what first happens is no mortgage to black people, but he wouldn't do just blacks. He would do blacks, Muslims, Chinese, and Mexicans. No mortgages. You're not allowed to own a home. So now that they're telling you if you really knew the issue, and I know the issue very well. I've read verbosely and voraciously about the immigration issue. I'm the nerd who actually, before anybody knew what Project 2025 was, I had already read over the 936 pages. I had already read it twice. Okay, I've read the Cato main report and probably 10 of the other articles and reports numerous times. Okay. They're telling you they shut down illegal immigration because they think they're being replaced. Why do they think they're being replaced? Because they've taken up the old Ku Klux Klan, concerned citizens councils, post World War II Nazi ideology, a bunch of bad stuff, and they're now encapsulating it as their entire political lives. It is their social culture, it is their political life, that we must not be replaced. And again, their mathematics is quite shitty, quite shitty. If you think white Americans are a majority on planet Earth, you have a hole in your fucking head. But they're convinced of it, convinced, and they demand. You know, they're going. They've already they're already going. They're going to go after Loving versus the U.S. about interracial marriage, because they're already told you they're going after Oberfeld for gay marriage. And just as a point out, stop thinking that Hillary Clinton, who I love calling Hillbot, that's a great nickname for her. She hated on gay marriage until the polling went over 60%. To her, gay marriage isn't a thing. It's just something she can tie you into her con artistry and her husband's con artistry and make you vote for her. Okay. She never, probably still to this day, doesn't believe that adults should have fair contract. Because my thing with gay marriage wasn't the marriage part, because I know what marriage is. Marriage is a contract. Okay. I'm not saying it doesn't involve love and relationship and all that. I've been married for 37 years. Okay. Love my wife dearly. But it's still a contract in the government's eyes. Now, they could have just gotten the government out of the business of marriage, because all the reasons government got into the marriage license game doesn't mean anything. And now it's just a revenue collection scheme. We can charge you a license fee. Okay. It's not necessary. We don't need the government to tell us whether we want to sign a contract and share our property and bequeath each other's property, upon death. Okay. But they're going to go after Loving. They're going to go after Oberfeld. And then they're going to tell people, like who, for example, like J.D. Vance and his wife, because, J.D. Vance isn't married to a white woman. And that's misogyny, as the old CCC used to talk about. Okay. So they're going to go after it all. They think they need a white, homogenous ethno state The way to get it is declaring a war on homeland soil. Because anytime you have a war, you have leeway to do anything the fuck you want. Okay? Wars change news cycles. Wars change the law. Wars can suspend the law. This is why they can't deal with immigration as a civil process and, when necessary, a law enforcement process. Okay? They don't want that. They want a war. Okay? I told you. Iraq was just practice. Okay? Iraq is simply a better training facility than Fort Irwin, California, or Grafenwehr, Germany. Okay? And when a troop dies at Fort Irwin, people get upset. When a troop dies in Iraq, we wave the flag. Easy. So when you start slaughtering people on homeland soil, like you did in Fallujah, Ramadi, and all these other places in Iraq, and you start slaughtering people here, you go, it's for the greater good. It's for America. You mean killing Americans was good for America? Destroying an open society is better for Americans? Yeah. They keep passing policies. They dress it up with curtains, telling you, "Oh, you're not seeing what you really are seeing." And then when you start looking at what they're doing, it all comes down to the same things: racism, control, political power, and profits. Okay. Now, again, we could have a Canadian citizen back in Vancouver, Toronto, or Ottawa in the next 12 hours, including the flight and the administrative costs of filling out the paperwork. We're into it for what, $2,500, $3,000? Okay. When you kill that Canadian citizen in custody because you decided to keep him there for weeks without treatment and care, that's going to end up in a lawsuit, and we're going to lose millions. Okay. That's a win. Do you see how much the immigrants are costing us? Do you see what that immigrant did? He went and died in our facility. Now he's costing us millions. Do you see how we have to deal with the immigrants? It's all self-fulfilling logic, no matter how wrong, how immoral, how unethical, how it's not even following the current laws on the books. Okay. The side note, these proud brats, proud babies with badges running around in battle jammies and balaclavas. Oh, I'm the secret police. Fuck off. I was on a DEA task force for a year and a half. I never covered my face once. And we were going after the gangs that Dear Leader Porn Star Humper cries about. All the boogeymen, all the Chuckies, all the Jason Voorheeses they like to make up. Yeah. Yeah. Been there, done that. You don't see me standing in front of the lectern crying, screaming, and whining because bad things exist in the universe. Yeah, they do. But you don't need to make fucking boogeymen out of them. First of all, MS-13, it's not that big of an organization. If the Crips and the Bloods and the Norteños and the Soneños decided they didn't want the MS-13 around anymore, the MS-13 wouldn't be a thing in about 72 hours. And once the Aryan Nation and the other prison gangs thought they could go after MS-13 inside, yeah. Yeah, we're talking a mass murder, a genocide of gang members that would make people's jaws drop. Okay. Um, are all criminal organizations assholes? Yeah, sure. They're a problem. They're a real problem. Trust me. I've been on the ground with these people. They're nuts. They're mean. They're evil. Okay. But you can't tell me that a Canadian tourist or a German tourist is MS-13. Okay, you kept a guy in New York City in detention for 14 days without proper food, water, and none of his medication. German citizen, an allied citizen, because he had a checkbox that was wrong. Or the Canadian gal in San Diego. Okay, that was another 2-weeker. Why? I don't like the way you check this box. The Canadian fashion designer, she's now a member of MS-13. She got her training at Vacaville in the state prison. That's that what you're trying to sell me? You're literally making shit up and punishing everybody because we're not agreeing with your lie, your replacement theory lie. That doesn't make any sense to begin with. So the immigration stuff is going to get worse. Do not get, this is my warning, do not get physically involved with these corrupt, stupid, proud babies with badges. They've been given federal authority. You have people who are not federal agents that are being literally handed badges in military ranks. Don't physically engage with these people. Okay. The power of the citizenry has right now is information. The most powerful weapon you have is that camera on your mobile phone sitting in your pocket. Okay. And if you've got one of those high-end phones with the super duper cameras, you don't even have to be close to them to film everything in 1440 or 4K. Okay. Film it, document it, immediately put it up online. Better, live stream it. Because when they're grabbing U.S. citizens and beating the shit out of them, the construction worker, born and raised in Bakersfield, California, carpenter, working on a home, has a full-time fucking job. He's not on welfare. He's not on Medicaid. He's not an immigrant. He's a U.S. fucking citizen that's not white. Good enough they attacked him and beat him up. I don't want an innocent third party getting killed. That's what I'm telling you. Don't physically get involved with these guys. Document everything, become the world's greatest witness. Okay. Because they'll I don't know how they're going to escalate it, whether it's going to be an official policy that escalates it or a debacle that escalates it. Imagine immigration bullshit mixed with Kent State. Okay. Who is the guy? Not Abner Louima. That was the guy they raped with the broom handle. The guy in the foyer of the apartment building, they shot 41 shots. Bruce Springsteen wrote a song about it, and everybody got pissy about it. I'm sorry, I love protest songs, and you all fucked up. You shot an innocent man taking his wallet out, and you shot him 41 fucking times. That kind of shit. Okay? Some guy's going, no, I'm a U.S. citizen. Here's my passport. He didn't follow verbal commands. See, I go up in the day where we had leaders in law enforcement like Chief McNamara in San Jose, who said repeatedly, this was kind of like his speech to the community thing he always talked about was anytime a cop shoots an unarmed citizen for any reason, you have a problem. And if it's a bad reason, you got a crime. Those are the words we live by. Okay. Like in my day, especially the place I worked, we were kind of a prima donna department, and that was from other cops in the area. They always called us prima donnas. I didn't care. I loved being a prima donna. Yeah, our department isn't corrupt. our department has a clearance rate that's double your department. My rape reports end up in the training book and end up in convictions. You guys couldn't write up a shoplifting without fucking it up. So I know in my department, at least, and now that was, we weren't perfect back in that day. We had fucking Ronnie King. I worked that night. It was horrible. But in my department, go ahead and be racist. Good luck with that. Okay. Even be impolite when it's unnecessary. Good luck with that. The lieutenants would have you for lunch. One of my friends got fired. And I had to tell him the hard truth. You got fired for good cause. He wrote a police report about a black guy, and he made him up to be the suspect, even though he clearly was not. And the reason he did it was animus. So when the word came down that he got fired, I was like, hey, man, I know. You and I work shift together. So we've done calls together. Okay. We've gone out to dinner, with the wives. Okay. You did this shit. Buy from the department, buy from professional life, buy from personal life. I don't want to hang with you. I didn't take this job. I don't wear a police uniform to be a Klan member. Okay? I wanted to do the fun stops, the fun stuff. Stop liquor store robberies. Bank robberies are always fun. Um, yeah, so today where you can just have, all these right-wing sheriffs, talked about that yesterday. It was like, oh man, you just got this planopy. I can't, if I'm a sheriff, I can't be right-wing enough. And when you get right-wing enough, that usually means corrupt as fuck. Okay? And part of the corruption is, I'm going to openly hate on people because I think that makes me look cool in the magatard crowd. So I'm going to hate on poor people. Okay, your job is sheriff to police the county, not police and protect the wealthy of the county. It's to protect the county at large. If you're unwilling to do that, why the fuck are you the sheriff? It's absurd. I think today's law enforcement, especially in a lot of neck of the woods around the country, I think you guys would do well if you had the personnel policy of Army CID, who I used to work for, Criminal Investigation Division. When a special agent in charge, your office commander, usually a Chief 1 Officer 3 and a special agent, Chief 1 Officer 4 and a special agent, sometimes a 3 if they're promotable and they're just about to be promoted to 4, but usually it's a 4. When they walk up and they ask you a question about a case, you have one chance only to get it right. And I mean that empirically. You even color the truth, never mind lie, you're going to be fired. And that's well before you do something stupid like write a case against a black man that didn't commit a crime. Okay, you'd be out the door way before that in CID. I mean, talk about strict. Okay, the professional conduct was literally a requirement, 10 out of 10. And they would fire you on the drop of a hat. I saw it time and time and time again. If you weren't on the top of your game, you got handed your hat and shown the door. Maybe we need to do that more outside in different agencies. Because one of the things I'm fearing is the right wing has now culturalized this immigration hatred, even though immigrants help the economy. Reason, sometimes they're really good, sometimes they drive me crazy. But Reason just had a great article about how immigrants actually have been the ones supporting the economy for the last 40 years. Okay. They start up businesses, including the big tech companies. Okay. They go to our best schools and then they become doctors. Okay. Immigrants raise the economy up. It's always been true. We are a country of immigrants. Okay. Like people have forgotten what the fuck the Statue of Liberty is sitting in the harbor for. I had family literally come in off the boat. Okay. Irish, Portuguese. People hated on them back then, but wasn't like we didn't want to come to America. I mean, I remember being a teenager just before I went in the Army. I mean, this is the late 70s. And I'd be hanging out in my mom's restaurant and bar, and she would introduce me to somebody. Hey, this is Nuno. Hey, Nuno, what's going on, man? My mom would go, he just got off the boat. And he goes, I did. I literally just got off the boat in Boston 4 days ago. I mean, we've always been an immigrant country. And to deny that is stupidity. And to deny the economic benefits of immigration is also stupid, but it's stupid to the point it's fiscal suicide. Okay. No immigrants are not spending all the Social Security money. That's a total lie. No immigrants are not spending all the Medicaid and Medi-Cal and all your state programs. No, that's a lie. Okay. Immigrants are not committing all the crime. I looked it up again. I have an API key at a lot of government agencies. Again, I'm a data engineer. I do this for a living. I go up and I download the data from the Bureau of Justice Statistics. 2 out of 3 rapists are white. males. Okay? Unless you're telling me there's white males from Mexico who only come up to America to rape the white women. It's like a Mel Brooks satire. You ever seen Blazing Saddles? This is one of the reasons it is the best comedy of all time. Okay. And the reason it's still funny today is because they're still doing the stupid shit that we were poking fun at back when I was a kid. We're still laughing at the stupid fucking racist Klan types and Nazi types who think they're king shit, but they don't know shit about Shinola. They don't know the difference between shit and Shinola. They are convinced the economy grows when you literally limit opportunity. You sit there and go, well, if they would just come here legally, conservative Cato says they can't. Okay. They're making up their own reality. How? From a set of grievances and animus, which they build on because they know it works. They know it psychologically works. Okay. Now, this is the twist. The average Trump supporter is not mad at the immigrant. Okay. Because they probably work on a farm in Indiana and they realize immigrants is their backbone of their labor. Okay. Whether you're in Indiana, California, or Georgia, that's true. I think the average red baseball cap wearing knucklehead is actually mad at their loss of the American dream, their loss of opportunity. Now, deep in the back of their minds, they know it ain't Jorge and Juan working the lettuce field. They know who did it. Okay? They know we bailed out the banks. They know we bailed out Lockheed Martin in the middle of a war. We know we bailed out the savings and loan industry. All we do is backstop failure by the wealthy. That's where your American dream went. Just because some guy with a crazy foreign name that isn't Smith or Jones. Okay, by the way, my real last name, is not my real last name. Okay. Our Irish name is O'Donnell. Okay, my grandfather changed it in Boston because Boston had the signs. No Irish need apply. I told you, they hate the Irish. The whitest people you fucking know. They hate the Irish too. Okay? So yeah, they're gonna turn this up. The volume's gonna go at 11. This is gonna get ugly. And all it's gonna do is prove my point even further. There is not an immigration problem in this country. There's a small criminality problem in the immigration community, which law enforcement, not the military, okay, should be sorting out. And law enforcement shouldn't militarize just for the sake of looking cool on Fox Noise. Okay? So be prepared. Make sure you're storing up some fortitude because it's going to take some strength to get through this horse shit. Okay, these guys are willing to drive because the worst case scenario when they drive the economy into the ground because we don't have the labor to deliver food, to truck things around the country, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When they drive the economy into the ground, what's going to happen is private equity and billionaires, including the billionaires in Trump's cabinet, is going to sweep through and buy up all the stores, all the failed farms, all the IP that used to belong to your business, but now that you're bankrupt and in bankruptcy court, it's up for sale, it's up for auction to pay your creditors. Who's going to sweep in and buy up every last thing after they drive the economy down right into the earth? Boom! Like a meteor. That's how hard they're going to slam this economy to the ground. That may be not their first choice, but it is an acceptable choice. Because they can either get their white ethno-state or they can buy up every distressed asset and literally own everything. Okay. Imagine private equity. You wonder why groceries are so high? I wrote an entire article about that. Private equity owns most of your supermarkets now. They own all the labels. They have false competition. Okay. They structure prices for their growing profits. They close your store even when it's profitable because it's not profitable enough or it's in the wrong neighborhood. Okay. Be prepared. This is going to get ugly. The economy is going to take a big hit and they're going to come after anybody they can. Because this is a question I have that's very, very serious. Are you actually stupid enough to believe they're going to stop at brown people? Mexicans, Venezuelans, and no. Now they want to deport Indians from India. Okay. That guy with the dumb idea for the East Sherman commie grocery stores. Now they want to arrest and deport him. Why? Because he had an opinion. All I said in my essay was it's a dumb fucking idea based on a shit show of consolidated markets in the grocery space, which he can't fix anyways. Go read that essay. Whole thing. I described the whole fucking thing. Okay. The guy has a bad idea. That's it. I'm just saying I don't like his idea. Why? Because I have the history and the knowledge to go back to the Cold War, including what happened behind the Iron Curtain. And all I'm saying is it's a shitty idea based on a shitty premise because he's not acknowledging the real problem. Never once did I say, let's arrest him and deport him. They mentioned deporting Zorhan. And then the next couple of hours, X, TikTok, Reddit were flooded with all the people they want deported who aren't Mexicans, who aren't Jamaican, who aren't Venezuelan, who aren't El Salvadorian. Okay. They just want people deported. Why? Because they think an ethno state is going to make them free. No, you get rid of the brown people. Okay. Couple of things going to happen. The poor white boys, you're getting nationalized. You're going to be working the midnight shift at the chicken plant or at the beef plant because all those Somali people and all those Sudan people and all those Libyans who work in the meat processing facilities, we deported all of them, and now there's no Big Macs for Dear Leader Pornstar Humper. So they're going to nationalize the labor. You're either going to be working in a meat processing plant or in a lettuce field. Okay. And it's not like things are going to get more affordable because you're do you actually fucking believe that rent is going to go down because you deported Jorge and Juan? Are you actually dumb enough to believe that? Your rent's going to go up as long as corporate ownership of housing continues to rise. The higher the concentration of corporate ownership and private equity ownership in homes means the rents are less affordable and mortgages are more and more out of reach. What utopia do you think gets built because when you look at your neighbor, he looks just like you? What utopia did you find? What you did was take out of the active labor force about 1 out of 11, 1 out of 12 active workers. That's that's a major hit. That's like a wartime hit in Russia now. Okay. You think less workers delivering less goods being shipped because there's less drivers? This English only thing where now you have to have a master's degree in English literature. That's a joke, but to get a driver's license, a Class A driver's license, because we don't want brown people driving. That makes Stephen Miller cry. Okay. When you don't have people working at the food processing plants, when you don't have people picking the fruit and vegetables. Okay. When you don't have the truck drivers, you don't have groceries on the fucking shelves. Okay. Yeah. I love to garden. Okay. I grow a lot of my own herbs, vegetables, fruits. I have multiple fruit trees. I'm getting pomegranate heads this year. Hopefully I'll get an actual pomegranate this year. Love pomegranates. Yeah, I can grow my own food. I've grown potatoes, onions, my tomatoes are in the ground. They're already producing fruit. Okay. I've grown lettuce. I've grown cucumbers because this I like gardening. It's a throwback to New England where everybody gardened, right? When I was growing up. I'm sitting here looking at my lime and my lemon tree. I got a tangelo tree. Okay. Um, yeah, I'm still going to have fresh fruit and vegetables. Are you? How many fruit and vegetables can you grow on your windowsill of your one bedroom apartment? Okay. Do you see where we're heading? Because none of this is going to benefit you unless you're a billionaire who's very bored and you're listening to me do this live video. Okay. I doubt anybody listening to me right now or listens to this later is going to be a billionaire. Okay. They are the only ones that are not going to be effective. And they're even going to be less effective if they crash the economy to the ground because their wealth is still going to be stratospheric above yours. But as you head down to zero, they're still up at their level. Like I said, they're going to come down and those crying TikTok farmers, oh my God, dear leader did not guarantee my farm loan. If that's your problem, you're going to be crying a lot more when private equity wins the auction and owns your land after you go bankrupt. And that's going to happen. And it's not just going to happen to farmers. It's going to happen to store owners, delis, funeral homes, mechanics. They're buying up everything. They're consolidating everything because they want the ultra wealthy that don't follow the tax code, don't follow the criminal code, can do insider trading, can make up any lies, can put out any propaganda. Why can they put up any propaganda? Because they now own all the television and news reports and websites, and they're literally feeding poison into people's brains. So they tell you through this delivery of poison, deport our labor, stop anybody who isn't white from coming into the country, and somehow our economy grows. Even though we're probably going to have supply chain problems, definitely some food supply problems. Like, who the fuck do you think picks the sugar cane in Florida? The exact people Trump just ordered deported. All of them. The Haitians. Okay? The majority of that labor down in Florida are from the islands. Okay? White boys are going to go into the swamp and start chopping down cane? I don't think that's going to happen involuntarily. It's going to happen when they nationalize the fields, sure. But it's not something that's going to organically happen. And again, it's sad because none of this needs to happen. And the only reason this is happening is about 36% of the US population either got duped because they weren't paying real attention, or they drank the grape Kool-Aid and actually joined the cult. But hell, once you've been in a major political party and a religious organization, joining another cult is just another step in your life. You'll believe anything. Because I'm sure there are white people that literally believe if you ban Taylor Swift from speaking and deport Juan, America's GDP goes up by 10 points tomorrow morning. That's how facile, that's how idiotic the discussion is. The fact is, we need a requirement, 100%, no questions asked. We need the immigrant labor. Period, 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 period. You know where we need the foreign labor the most? And it's now been blocked? Doctors and nurses. They're now blocking visa applications for doctors and nurses to go to Stanford and Johns Hopkins and Mayo. Okay, when you don't have the best doctor available for your rare disease or for your rare cancer or for your genetic disorder, fuck you, too bad for you. The doctor that could have helped you and wanted to help you, and the hospital wanted to hire him to help you, was blocked by Stephen Miller and the Nazis. And it's not because they're from some evil, banned country that, we don't have relations with, like Iran or North Korea. We're 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 talking about French, Indians. Okay. We're not talking about terrorist groups. We're talking medical professionals, flat out banned from applying to U.S. hospitals. It's an extension of you can't go to Harvard if you're not an American. And again, immigration and Harvard, nothing to do with each other. Trump wasn't accepted to Harvard. His son wasn't accepted to Harvard. Harvard thinks differently than Trump. Trump declared him the enemy. Okay. We block immigrants from coming to Harvard. Harvard gets into financial problems. They have a budget problem. Hurt them financially, hurt the country long term by not having those skilled people graduate and then become part of our economy. Okay. And the whole anti-Harvard, anti-Columbia stuff, this is all just a continuation of anti-intellectualism, anti-science, anti-philosophy, anti-reason. Okay. And they're championing it now. Like they're literally spiking the football. Oh, that guy won't graduate Harvard Medical School. Oh, spike the football. Really? Really? We have a doctor and nurse shortage. We have trade shortages all over the country. Plumbers, electricians, carpenters. We have massive, massive shortages in some fields. Okay. Cutting off the labor doesn't fix anything. It just makes the problems worse. And it makes the products and the services more expensive. But again, the economy and the expense and the individual product costs or the service costs doesn't matter when you're a billionaire. The economy doesn't matter to you. Okay. 18 eggs could be $3 or it could be $313. Okay. When you have that much money in the bank, it doesn't matter. A gallon of gas could be $16 a gallon. It doesn't matter to you. You'll still survive just fine. And they know that. So cut off the labor, cause things to go up. And then when the prices start going up, you point your fingers at somebody else. Oh, look what just rose the price of electricians. Whoa, immigrants. It's not a restriction of labor. But of course, they're coming up with these fallacies. This is the same group of people who leaned on TV preachers to get elected in office in the 80s. And these idiots think hurricanes caused by gay people. I always thought hurricanes were caused by low barometric pressure. You see where we're at? Nothing's really changed in the last 40 years, a little over 40 years, probably 45, 46 years. Because really, if I had to peg where we all went wrong, the minor variable where we went wrong is Nixon leaving willy-nilly, leaving the Bretton Woods Agreement, the modified gold standard, and sending the economy into a tizzy in 71. But where it all started going south was the 78 midterms. When Lee Atwater and Republican Party and the preachers got together to run on dogma, piousness, and bullshit. Okay. And every year they have to up the volume and up the bullshit to get you to still pay attention. Okay. They got to get a fix. They got to get you to fix on their mantras, but their old mantras aren't crazy enough, aren't bombastic enough. They don't have the fear impact and the chaos impact that will get you to pay attention. So they just keep turning it up, turning it up, turning it up, turning it up. Because dear leader, porn star Humper, he didn't think up shit. This guy is the world's greatest copyright violator. Anybody that's done something in the past always going to say, oh, that was mean and ugly and stupid and didn't work. Let me turn that up to 11. Everything he does, he's just copying somebody else. Now, horribly, it's often copying people like Nixon or Orban or Putin. But yeah, he doesn't have an original thought in his head. Okay. He's just drilling his way through fucking life, pretending he's a genius. It's amazing how many people think he's smart, but they don't know who, like, Richard Feynman was, or who Dr. Lisa Rondell is today, or who, Ida Lovelace was. I think your whole concept of what smart is so fucked up that this is another cultism in the land of MAGA that you can take the opposite and make it true. Did you see his interview? When they asked him about what are they calling it? Alcatraz? No, yeah, alligator Alcatraz. Dumb, fucking childish bullshit, right? So a reporter asked him, "Oh, what's your big plan with this facility down the Everglades?" He goes off for 6 minutes and about 15 seconds talking about water, toilets, and washing machines. The question was about keeping prisoners long term in a concentration camp in the Everglades. He started whining how Biden didn't let us wash our clothes, took away our water, told Whirlpool to make appliances that don't work. What? The reason your appliances don't work is the general concept of shrinkflation. And it's not just your washing machine not working. Don't buy a recreational vehicle, an RV, an old Winnebago today. Don't buy a new one. I'm reading parts from these car nerds on YouTube that diesel engines are failing in RVs in as little as 50 to 60,000 miles. Okay. They won't even build an engine right anymore. They won't build a refrigerator right. Shit, I got my ice maker bucket here because the goddamn thing keeps leaking. Freaking refrigerator's only 3 years old. Okay. You can't get anything fixed. Most things need to be replaced. And it isn't because Biden turned off the water. What the fuck? So yeah, they're going to make up anything they want in their post-truth world. Not that the other side's very truthful at times too, but at least they're not unhinged in some self-made delusional utopia that they actually think is real. I think the other side, like Pelosi, she just bullshits because she knows she can bullshit. It's the typical American politic bullshit, the stuff we're used to. Okay, the dear leader stuff, that's the stuff we're not used to. Yeah, that stuff's insane. So, immigration kerfuffle, not about immigration. It's about white nationalism. It's about broken ideology. It's about a mythology that only white people can hold office, hold the corporate board seat, and run the economy. If dear leader were ever to get the power he desired unleashed, I could totally see him arresting and throwing in concentration camps the non-white executives in the tech industry. Anybody that's a competition to white boys, Thiel and Musk. But not out of the realm of possibilities in my mind. This is how far they're going to take it if dear leader escapes the leash he doesn't want to have on him in the first place. That's why they keep saying the judges cannot enjoin them anymore. And then the Supreme Court agreed. It's a co-equal branch of government system. Okay. Yes, the judiciary can enjoin the executive. That's the whole fucking point of the judiciary. Whole point. That's not true anymore. So if he ever escapes his leash, holy shit. As religious people say, God help us. Because it's going to get ugly. And it's going to get ugly fast. All we can do is videotape, protest, vote for somebody different. I'm going to say this every video and every essay now. Stop voting for the same fucking morons you've been voting for since 1981. Start looking at independent candidates, not Democrats, not Republicans. Joe Walsh jumping ship to the Democrats. Jesus Christ, out of the frying pan into the fire. Come on. Oh, and definitely look at younger candidates. Okay. So protest, get out your mobile phone, document it, because this may get so bad that the Olympic teams won't show up for the Olympics. And it's in fear that their their citizens are at risk, and they won't send them to the Olympics. That will be a national embarrassment. Now, of course, they'll try to spin that like, you know, when we I didn't agree with this, but we boycotted the Olympics because of the Russian invasion of Afghanistan. Totally hypocritical in hindsight, of course, because we invaded Afghanistan not too long later. So we didn't send our athletes to the Soviet Union, to Moscow. And the Soviets made a big kerfuffle about how they were the kings of the world and they had the best athletes. Well, you only had the best athletes that cycle because you didn't have any competition. Okay. They're going to manipulate the upcoming Olympics and say, oh, yeah, we're the best because nobody else showed up. But I think world embarrassment, it will be a big factor to change what we're doing, because eventually we're going to piss people off so bad, especially in Europe, uh, the technocracies of the Pacific, Japan, New Zealand, Malaysia, India. They're going to get so pissed at us. They're going to stop. They're going to stop the normal agreements with us, including trade. They'll take a hell of a hit, but there are lines that are going to be crossed that other countries will not follow us on. And there's already evidence of that. I'm not just my personal opinion, and it's been my opinion for a while. I said, if Trump gets reelected, the Spanish and the Italians are going to stop giving us information. At least it's not going to be as open as it was like post 9/11. They're just not going to do it because they know where that information is going to end up. It's going to end up in Putin or Orban's hands. And the Italians know things we don't. They have people in regions that collect better information, more quality information than we do. So that's why we lean on other countries that have expertise and presence in places where our missions maybe not going as good. Okay. And when they pull their data, they pull their security info, that's a problem. That's a long-term problem for America. Okay. Vote for somebody different. Anytime you see these Goombas in their balaclavas, just start recording. Okay. Live stream. Get the ACLU app or another app and start live streaming. Okay. Because then the video's up in the cloud and they can't delete it off your phone, or they just can't hammer your phone and destroy the video locally. Okay. Even though that would be a felony tampering with evidence if anything was going on and they captured another crime on that video, that'd be a problem. But yeah, do your mobile, start researching candidates, think locally. Okay. Because not all the stupidity is in Washington. Like I told you yesterday, it isn't just the sirens in the Midwest that they wanted to shut down. The idiots here want to shut down our sirens too. Okay. So think locally, act widely, never give up, never surrender. Don't even ever consider surrendering to this white power construct. Okay. Because in the end, this is just a dictatorship mentality looking to cash in tax-free. That's all it is. Boogeyman immigrants, boogeyman this, boogeyman that. They're raking in the money and they don't pay any taxes. And that's what they want to continue. Now they want to continue it without court review, with absolute power. That's the forward problem. So pay attention, record, protest, vote. Till next time, think about it.